Are you a little confused about Facebook's tracking options? Do you know the difference between the Facebook Conversion API and the Facebook Pixel? Should you implement the Facebook Conversion API? If you're confused about all these topics, don't worry, we're here to help. This is Miguel from Singlot, and welcome to Coffee Break Tips, the show where you learn something new about marketing in the time it takes you to drink a cup of coffee. As you may know, in April 2021, Apple decided to launch their iOS 14.5 update to their operating system, and with it came the possibility for users to ask their phones to not be tracked by certain apps, Facebook of course included. We have covered in the previous video some of the changes that iOS 14.5 brought to users, so you can feel free to check out that video, we'll link it down below. But in a nutshell, what this update made possible was for people and users to decide to not be tracked inside their iOS devices. As a result, advertising on Facebook now is much more complex because gathering that data is way more complex. There are reports and estimates that suggest that more than 60% of the user base have opted out from being tracked, which means all of a sudden you are invisible as a user to the advertisers that are trying to get you to buy services and products. Add to this already complex situation the possibility of blocking ads using simply an ad blocker in your browser, for instance, and you'll start to see how difficult it is to be an advertiser in these times. The iOS changes have definitely been the accelerator to this situation, but they haven't been the only cause. As I mentioned before, you can block cookies from working, which kind of defies the purpose, but there's also the issue of privacy, which is the biggest issue at stake. Cookies can be less secure since they're not working at a server side and they're working in your browser, so the performance of your browser, the usage of blockers and things like that can actually lead to you not having any data possible to work with. It is also expected that the use of third-party cookies will be abandoned slowly by all platforms and you will not be able to use them anymore. Stay tuned for a part 2 of this video because we will now focus on the Facebook side of things, but in part 2 we will focus on the Google side of things. Facebook's answer to all this mess has been to launch their own Facebook Conversion API, and we're going to detail what it is about and what it can be useful for. So what is the Facebook Conversion API then? As you're probably guessing, it is a server-side tool that allows you to work on a server level rather than a browser level. It does not rely on cookies, so it is not affected by the performance of the browser you're using. It's also worth noting that it is designed to work in tandem with the Pixel to be able to refine your tracking and offer you optimizing tips when it comes to advertising. So you may be wondering what it can help with, right? In short, it can basically help with everything. It is kind of like the Pixel but on steroids, and is much more secure and much better because it works at the server level. But let's see some examples of the things that the Facebook Conversion API can help you with. Number 1 is attribution. Relying entirely on the data provided by the Pixel is no longer as accurate as it used to be. Therefore, the API allows you to fill in the gaps and get you a much better picture of the situation you're dealing with. Number 2 is targeting or retargeting audiences. Impacting users who have been already on your website can be a really crucial element to your strategy. However, if you cannot trust the data that comes through the Pixel directly, how can you do that? Because the API works at the server level, then you're making sure that the data you have on your website comes from the server, which means it's a bit more secure, it's a bit more realistic, so you know that you can retarget much better. This leads us to the third change, which is basically lower cost per interactions or conversions. It goes without saying, of course, but better data will obviously yield better results in your campaigns. And when you're giving the information that the algorithm wants, the algorithm is happy, and therefore you can expect your campaigns to work much better. So what are you waiting for? You should now be implementing your Facebook Conversion API, right? Well, the reality is true. You should do it because of the changes we mentioned. Your campaigns will for sure benefit from it because you will be dealing with better data, and better data will give you better results for sure. However, if you want to implement the Facebook Conversion API, you really need to know what you're doing. This is something that you need to do with a bit of technical knowledge, or you should have access to developers. If you're in a position where you need to implement your Facebook Conversion API, but you don't know how, get in touch with us. We can help you there for sure. And that's it for this one. We hope this video was useful and informative. Obviously, if you want to read more about the changes to the Facebook Conversion API and what they are, we can link some really interesting articles down below. Feel free to like, comment and share, and please consider subscribing if you haven't already. Want to learn more? You can get a free 30-minute call with me by commenting below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.